we go to concerts, like sometimes I'll be the guy that'll get us into the show, and I'll be like, "Yeah, man, come on, I got Chris with me," and then we'll go on stage, and I'll just be enjoying the show and rocking out, and like looking around, and then all of a sudden my phone, I'll be like, "Oh, is that from Chris?" And it's awkward photos of me
just being happy and fanboy most of the time
with bad posture. Like everything is like I immediately just
my favorite one was at the Virgin Hotel when I was up in the balcony and those little suite sections, and you'd gone downstairs.
What was the concert?
I can't remember.
Oh, it was like something. Shit. Was it Seven Dust? And no, Seven Dust was at the Palms.
Oh,
it was.
Hold on, it's coming to me because Andy James was there too.
Yeah.
It was Extreme. Extreme, yeah.
And they're getting towards the end of the set, and I'm like, I want to go down and film the beginning of Wholehearted, it was Wholehearted. And I'm like, I'm gonna get down there and like, and I'm filming, and I'm like, all right, Chris is he's not gonna bother me, and I'm filming my thing.
Then I saw you walking back.
Then I start walking back.
All happy and proud of whatever footage he just got, just enjoying the wholehearted.
And I really think there's a thing that we haven't tapped into yet where you just know when someone's looking at you. It's a weird thing. If you ever like stare at a pretty girl and then she just happens to be like, the fuck? Like, I think there's a thing that we haven't tapped into that's out there in the universe that we know when we're being looked at.
I am so glad that I have turned that off.
And looking?
No, being aware that people are looking. Yeah, from judging like all the way from high school. I've always kind of looked different. Like growing up in Kentucky, I had long blonde hair, kind of looked like Jeff Hanneman. But yeah, I've always kind of been looked at. People ask me all the time, like, do you always get recognized everywhere you go now that you're in this big band? And I've always kind of been looked at, whether it's the long hair in Kentucky to, dreads hanging off the face. I've always had like a different look. So I never know now if they're looking at me because of the beard or if they know me from the band. So I generally just kind of go through like, I can kind of tell it's a little bit more like when it's because of the band.
Dude, yeah. I had a big giant misread on Christmas Eve a few years ago. I will always do my Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. I'm that guy. And I was in Tucson. I'm at a mall doing shopping for my sister and my mom. And I walked into the store, and as soon as I walked in the store, I could see a guy at the counter, and he looks at me and he goes, he starts doing this, and he's laughing, and I pop my head straight up and I go, I'm looking right at you, dude. And he goes, what? And I go, I see you talking shit about me. I'm looking right at you. And he goes, weren't you on King of Queens? And I went, oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. Hi, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Totally misread that.
Yep.
Like everything about the body language was like, hey, look at this piece.
So very early on in the band, maybe the first year or probably second year, I had a big bushy beard, had a look that people were looking at, getting more traction and being recognized more around as we travel. And Zoltan and I were at the ticket counter at the airport one day. We never get there at the same time, but this time we'd gotten there at the same time. And we're both checking in, and the ticket attendant looks at me and is like, you look familiar. And I kind of looked at Zoltan and said, oh, this is about to happen. Yep. I go, I mean, maybe. She goes, are you on Duck Dynasty? Yeah, Zoltan loved that one. I was so full of myself. It's like, yeah, she about to let the boss know. Out of these two, who got recognized? Yep,
Jamie Foxx.
Duck Dynasty.
Jamie Foxx has a great story about when he first got on In Living Color. The night that the show debuted, he went to a local 7-Eleven and just stood in the magazine rack and just like every time the door would open into 7-Eleven, he would just like pop his head up and just look at people and hoping to get recognized. Nobody recognized him, and then apparently there was these two girls that came in, and he looked up, and one of the girls was like, oh my God, I know you. And he's like, hey, what's up? And then she goes, don't you work at Warehouse Records? And he goes, what? And the other girl was like, no, girl, that's not who that is. And he goes, yeah, tell her. And she goes, Tower Records. He works at Tower Records. And he's like, oh, man, like he's just hoping to get recognized. Like,
I always love it when people come up and they're like, hey man, I hate to bother you, but yeah, can I get a picture with you? I'm like, no, that's not a bother. The bother is when no one's asking for pictures.
Right.
I'm like, do any of these people know? What am I even doing?
It's like John Mulaney's joke about, and I absolutely believe this came from a real place, that when he went into recovery, that he, his biggest fear, everyone's going to know who I am. And he goes, and that quickly gave way to a much bigger fear, which was that literally nobody in that place knew who I was.
I had the exact opposite experience.
In recovery?
The moment I walked into rehab, one of the I don't know what this is called, an orderly, like one of the nurses working there. As soon as I walked in the door, I got the, and I looked right at him. I go,
dude, there's some things going on in the news. I'm dying to get your reaction.
Let's go.
So there was a post, and I'm hoping to God you haven't heard about this. Did you hear what Chrissy Hynde has asked of her fans of the Pretenders? You did?
Craig, it is my job on this podcast to be up on things.
Okay, well, there's two of them.
Okay.
One is related to something that you're annoyed with already, which is...
Is that Chrissy Hynde that did this?
Well, you already have this thing about ghosts that you brought up that you were... Is that going to be Chris is Pissed?
That is Chris's Pissed episode today.
So Chrissy Hynde had a similar thing to that, but did you hear about the other post that she made about requests she made of her fans?
Yes, I do know that. I even said something. Clearly, Craig Gass doesn't follow Chris Kael on Twitter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just going to read this.
That's a perfect time to follow me on Twitter at 5FDP Chris Kael to get riveting content that Craig Gass is missing.
I am following you. I just didn't happen to catch that. So Chrissy Hynde wrote, first of all, thank you to everyone who has come to see our shows. We are in the home stretch of this year's tour, and it's been a real pleasure. Fantastic cities and fantastic audience. We have had a great time. This really just seems like a setup to what she's really trying to say. One thing I feel obliged to explain. When we go on tour, the whole point of it for the band is that we're playing for a different audience every night. That's why we go on tour. So if we're in Edinburgh, like we are tonight, we look forward to seeing local faces. This is what makes it fun and new for us every night. We appreciate those of you who follow us and buy tickets for multiple nights to our shows. So please don't be offended if we request that you move out of the front row. All we are asking is that you give the local fans a chance. This is what keeps it new for us, especially after being on tour for so many months.
Go ahead and cue Chris is Pissed because I'm changing my shit right now.
You haven't heard that
story? About dumb, entitled musicians.
Whoa!
Yeah. Who are you? The show ain't about you anymore. Yeah, these fans have paid. I find my inner woosah. These fans have worked 60, 80 hours a week to afford the tickets to these shows. And they're showing up at 10 a.m. in the morning. Motherfucker, you ain't awake at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Good point.
Shut your fucking mouth. Let them go wherever the fuck they want. Be happy that people are showing up, period, let alone spending the money to be able to get access to the front row and showing up and showing support at 10 o'clock a.m. We showed up at 9 o'clock this morning. I'm going to keep on bitching about it.
Can I play devil's advocate on this? Let me just bring up one, and I don't even know if this is what she means. I just remember talking to Bert Kreischer when I asked Bert, because I've known, like, Bert and I have known each other for over 25 years in the clubs in New York, and I remember asking him about, you must have stalkers now, and he goes, oh, dude, do I have people that just sit in the front row, and they buy tickets in the front row, and they just stare at me, and he just described that people with no shirts on will just stand in the front row.
And never the people you want with shirts off.
Right, exactly. And that he has people that will go to multiple shows and they won't even laugh. So as a comedian, I get that part of it. As a comedian, you're seeing that, like, because I get self-conscious about, and that's a comedy thing. You can't hear a good joke twice and get the same effect. A great song you can hear over and over and over again. But the idea I'm guessing is that maybe these are people in the front row who maybe be that kind of personality. They're going to so many shows that they just maybe they don't react at all. They just obsessively stare at the band. You're saying who gives a shit?
I can say from experience that I've seen that. You have the people out there that you see time and time again. I am grateful as fuck to see those people out there every single time. Being able to see those mega fans in the front row repeatedly over and over again. People traveling all across Europe, going into Russia, just following us. I am so stoked that we have people that care that much.
Yeah, I don't have
to come.
I don't have that at all.
But yeah, to tell a fan who is spending their money for their experience that they're fucking up your experience. In the words of the poet Ice Cube, please.
Can we do that again and just isolate that facial expression? Just Chris looking in the camera and just that was hilarious. Did you see Ozzy's speech at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I did not.
Ozzy was
got me on the story finally.
Yeah. Ozzy had the shortest speech ever, I think, in the history of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
They do Jack Black goes out. He does an incredible, hilarious, and really raucous tribute to Ozzy. Then they go to a video clip. And then, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prince of Darkness. And they go, Ozzy, congratulations on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he goes, I want to thank Randy Rhoads. All right, thank you, Ozzy. That's it. All the guitar players, all the musicians, all the guys who wrote the music.
Yep.
Nope, it was Randy. I think he might have thanked Sharon, but that was it.
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness and the king of shading people. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. In one statement.
Shaded
everybody
now,
except for Randy.
Granted, it might have been a 2-minute speech, but and he did say, like, I don't want to fucking go on and on and on. I just want to fucking.
That's good.
And then
I
want to thank Randy Rhoads. All right, thank you. Like, wow. And that was it, man.
Yeah.
And he just, I was floored by that because so many people have helped. And dude, not only that, Jakey Lee just got shot and was put in a hospital a few days before that.
Yep.
And I'm like,
right here in Las Vegas, where
we do Las Vegas, man. This show, and he doesn't even thank him.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there's a whole long history of not giving that dude thanks.
Yeah, dude. That Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, dude. There's so much controversy. I just talked to a friend of mine who performed here this weekend, who was in that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Foreigner because they got inducted.
I'm going on Wednesday.
And to see Foreigner?
Yep.
And a buddy of mine who plays in that band was saying that he goes, it's so weird because I was asking him, like, what was it like doing the whole thing? And he goes, well, there was the technical thing, which was figuring out how to play these songs in the key that people who wanted to jam with us. And he said, everyone just kind of got thrown in. And he kind of described everybody as being like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we'll make it work because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, all right, you and you play with them, and then you sing this song, and it's like, oh, okay. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame made the decision, and my buddy said that they just didn't give a shit about the details. He said, we didn't know what time we were getting picked up.
Yep.
His wife and his kid were not given any information about the show, and they had to go through the crowd entrance to get in the building instead of, through the artist entrance. It was kind of described as we really don't give a shit about the details.
Yeah, this isn't about you; it's about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and this is our show. Which
is weird to me because, like, I noticed when I toured with a band, I did it. Like, I've done one-off dates a bunch, but even on the one-off dates, I'm like, wow, man, there's a lot of people talking to me right now.
Yeah.
Tour managers talking to me, stage managers talking to me. Everybody's like, like, hey, this is what's going on. We need you here at this time, blah, blah. But when I did a tour with Alice in Chains, and everything was taken care of. I mean, my God, the life that you live, dude, you got people taking care of you. Absolutely. It's crazy. So the idea that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't operate the same way is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And
that just shows,
go ahead. Go ahead.
That just shows how collectively out of touch
Oh, yeah.
they are across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you're
that's
dealing
why.
with Foreigner, you're dealing with Ozzy Osbourne,
Mm-hmm.
any number of people that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's you wouldn't have a Hall of Fame were it not for the artists that you're putting into the Hall of Fame.
I think it was on Eddie Trunk's show that I heard.
He's got an opinion on the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. That I heard Tom Morello's case for joining the voting committee was to say, hey, man, there's a lot of people right now, young musicians, who think that you guys are archaic and not relevant at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just telling you, if you want to keep going in that direction, you can. But less and less people give a shit about you because you don't seem to be validating what they're.
Absolutely.
I mean,
your audience is dying.
Yeah, and Kiss alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the principles of what qualifies you is influence, dude. Everyone before Kiss would cite the Beatles. Everyone after Kiss, including Garth Brooks.
Oh yeah,
hip hop people, like everyone.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, they would all cite Kiss. That's who influenced us and that made us want to get into music, into playing music. And so for Kiss to not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for so long was ridiculous.
Absolutely. I love that my contribution to that was Lady Gaga.
Yeah. It's all right, man.
I'm a fan.
Dude, we got stories. You know, by the way, who's got stories, and I hope he is put in a forum when he gets to do more of those, is I saw that Alex Van Halen is... he's been doing a book tour. That guy is the king of stories.
And you would know because you lived at Eddie Van Halen's house.
And Alex would come over. Well, the first, I didn't start seeing Alex at the house until a couple months into living there because they were when I was living there in 2004, they were recording it was a new album that was a greatest hits album with 2 bonus tracks. And they were starting to prepare a tour that summer, reuniting with Sammy to go back out on tour. And when it started to get to March or April, Alex started showing up at the house to do business stuff and start. I'd get on the computer and there would be lighting designs on the computer, he was making decisions on lighting designs. There would be samples of merch laying around the house that he was checking out what kind of merch they were putting out.
Van Halen, DIY. I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that dude was the king of storytelling. That guy, I remember there was one story he told me that I thought was one of the funniest stories, that when he grew up with a guy who was his best friend, the guy's younger brother, who was Alex's best friend, was Eddie's best friend. So there's 2 brothers, best friends with 2 brothers. And the one that was best friends with Alex, they would listen to music. They were obsessed with music, obsessed with the Rolling Stones. And someday we're gonna grow up and we're gonna tour with the Rolling Stones. And then on the Van Halen 1 touring cycle, they got the offer to do shows with the Rolling Stones. And I don't know if it was more than one, but this story happens in New Orleans at the Superdome. They're going to open for the Rolling Stones at the Superdome. And Alex, at this point, is becoming a touring musician. He hires his best friend to be his drum tech. So he's got his best friend riding shotgun for this fame ride that he's on. And they get to New Orleans and they are rock stars in New Orleans because they get to open for the Rolling Stones the next night. And they're hanging out in the French Quarter and they're partying. And Alex said there was this move they would always do, this pratfall, where they would walk up to a wall and they would go like that and man, and they'd fall down, or walk into a pole. And he described his friend as being a little couple pickles short of a Big Mac, right?
There we go.
And they're in the French Quarter and they're drunk. And he walked up and he goes, and he's just smashed his face into a light bulb.
Yeah.
Straight on, blood straight out.
Committed to the bit.
Committed, that's not how you do it, man. You walk up and you hit the thing, and then the guy smashed his face into a light pole, blood, and then eyes start puffing up. And the next day at the Superdome, they're setting up, and his buddy is fully giant black eyes. He's wearing glasses. He can't even see. And they're on the stage. They're setting up when Mick Jagger comes over to say hello to the new rock and roll band that's calling itself Van Halen. And he goes, "Hello, boys." And he's saying hi to everybody. And the band's like, "Hey, Mick, how are you?" And then Alex comes over and goes, "Mick, my name is Alex Van Halen. I'm the drummer for the band. I just wanted to tell you that my best friend and I, who is my drum tech, we grew up listening to you, and our dream was someday to be on tour with the Rolling Stones." And he goes, "Oh, where's your friend at? Let me see your mate." And he goes, "Oh, hey, it's Mick Jagger." And Mick goes, "Hey, how are you?" And his drum tech with the sunglasses on went, "Hey,
oh my gosh,
how you doing?" And Mick stood there and goes, "This is your drum tech?" Like he thought the guy was totally blind. Oh, I hope Alex Van Halen commits to doing more events where he can tell stories, because that dude is the king of storytelling.
And has lived a life full of great stories too.
Yeah, that story about him and his best friend. There's a weird, dark PS to that story too. That his best friend had a younger brother that was Eddie's best friend, and that guy killed himself when they were kids.
That's not a hilarious story. Not a hilarious story. My bad. I read that wrong.
Yeah, dude. All right, dude.
Been a rough weekend, man.
I have intentionally not looked this up because I want you to explain it to me. You said, and other people in the room were like, "Oh, you don't know that story?" I honestly don't know the story. I didn't even want to look it up. Can you explain to me what the drama is with As I Lay Dying?
Man. This one, so basically everybody in As They Lay Dying, the current members of As They Lay Dying, some stuff went down a couple years ago, and that incarnation of the band pretty much left, leaving just the vocalist Tim. And it appears that's happening again. I don't know. Everybody's got press agents and putting out their posts and whatnot, but I believe that Tim again is the only member of As They Lay Dying. So I don't know what's going on there. But man, like the dudes. I'm trying to figure out how to be diplomatic about this, and sensitive to what other people are going through. But man, like, yeah, the dude's, he's had a history of some troubling behavior.
Oh, okay.
To say it lightly.
All right. Like issues with
allegedly putting hits out on an ex-wife, while also he was a big dude. So maybe allegedly some extracurricular muscle builders in there that might make you a little bit more angry.
A guy who might have threatened his ex is in a band called As I Die.
Yep. Which started off as a Christian band. It was a Christian.
No way!
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. So, yeah, that's, so basically my problem with it is just everybody being so vocal and piling on about the whole thing. You know, at the end of the day, the dude gave you a job.
Yeah.
He's going through some stuff. Clearly, if everybody in the band has jumped ship and is no longer wanting to be part of it and talking about their mental health and all that other stuff, what about that dude's mental health? Like, you're only exacerbating whatever he's going through. And many people would argue, well, I don't give a damn what he's going through.
Right, because he's making my life miserable.
Yeah, not even that, but just like historically, the dude's had some problems, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just hate to see people getting dragged through personal stuff publicly. It's that's one of the things, and that's probably a perspective of me being in a big rock band,
right,
and being able to kind of avoid some of that stuff over the years. I've had my own stuff going on and been able to publicly talk about that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't imagine going through that at the time and having people who I've put around me as support members verbally make it even worse. It's just, yeah.
You and I are both friends with a guy who is in a very successful band who had a problem and got kicked out and publicly basically shamed for the problem that he that he had, and so his guy didn't stick with him, you know. But
and then you got to deal with the fan comments too,
right?
Yeah, man.
But this is the second time that everyone in the band has left.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to be diplomatic. I'm trying to see both sides of the coin here. They can both be heads, you know. or Kaels.
I've said this before, man. I used to be jealous of guys like you because it looks like so much fun to travel with a bunch of dudes until I did it.
Yeah.
And I traveled with a bunch of dudes and I was like, holy shit, I'd rather be by myself. Because being with a bunch of dudes means that everybody's got different levels of communication skills. It got, there was some really frustrating moments that would happen that I would just go, man, this is so unnecessary, man.
Yeah.
We're doing such a cool thing here. We get to travel all around the country and perform for crowds that are excited to see us. And like, why is anybody having a bad day?
And after having been around it long enough, now you see why I'm doing stand-up comedy too.
Right.
Because I want to be left the fuck alone.
But dude, it's obviously if the story is that everyone's left his band twice already, man, is that an interesting story.
Yep. I hope that he gets whatever help that he needs and finds the route to fill whatever is going on inside him positively, so that he doesn't become a statistic himself.
You know what's crazy is that becomes the thing that everybody wants to talk to you about, because it is like one of the most public. It's kind of like, in a different way, Cheech and Chong are so synonymous with each other.
Beardo, the weirdo.
Beardo and the weirdo.
I get questions about you every single day, Craig. Where's Weirdo? Is he coming out? Hey man, I got this picture. Can you get him to sign it for me?
That whenever one of them is seen in public, like, hey, where's the other one?
Yeah.
And then, whatever, if somebody who's famous loses somebody close to them, the next 10 years is people going, hey, sorry about what happened to you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thank you. But I got over that a long time ago. But when that's like, I wonder about Perry Farrell. Anywhere Perry Farrell is going, like anytime he's seen in public, I mean, it's been like, what, a month and a half now since that happened?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
That's going to be easily the next 5 years. Every day, people are going to be like, hey, man, I saw what happened. And he may be working through it right now and already be in a healthy place right now about it.
Yeah.
But he's going to hear about it for the
absolutely, and that could become the trigger that sets him back.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
Do people ever trigger you at all by asking about things that you're like, man, I was past that? Really? Really?
Not really. I mean, I don't want to go into that.
Really? All right.
You know what? Fuck it. It's there's so much that gets put out there about personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether it's my life, whether it's the lives of other people in the band, people associated with us, that with such a big audience, man, I'm pretty open about the stuff that I've gone through. But I definitely had to pump the brakes on oversharing.
That's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about when we first started bonding about recovery, was like, dude, you're oversharing this, man.
Yeah. But then I realized that I'm in a unique position with the platform that we have and the vast amount of people likely going through the same type of stuff that I was going through, that I could be a positive voice expressing the things that I was doing that worked for me to get me past my problems. I just kind of I've always kind of been a dude that wanted to inspire other people to pick themselves up and to do better and to be better, and to have the platform that I have because of the band that I'm in, and joining here with Craig Gass on the Beardo and the Weirdo, and this massive audience that we've created right now. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for all your support and your Patreon support and all that good stuff. See, I'm building stuff for the future here, Craig.
I was going to say, it's kind of like Prince making the movie Purple Rain, where he's like a superstar and then he became a superstar. Like, you're basically, you're putting it out there. Like,
you have to show up and behave like you have the job already.
No, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So I definitely had to, pump the brakes on some boundaries and not putting so much stuff out there. So I'll intentionally be vague about details sometimes.
People in your personal life you had to pump the brakes on, or people that you would run into on the street?
People like public persona talking about personal stuff. Yeah.
People would like bring that stuff up.
Yeah. People outside of the inner circle that if news were to get out about, whatever, like, me getting sober for it or whatever.
Did it? Okay. I know what you did.
Mm-hmm.
I know your intention was probably hold yourself accountable when you first started putting out like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Yep.
Also to make it like, hey man, I'm going through this. So if you're going through it, I'm with you. Like, I'm on your side. I'm sure there's multiple good, healthy reasons that you started putting it out in the world.
Mhm.
Were you not prepared for people wanting to talk to you about it? Because I wasn't prepared for that when I put it out there. Did it throw you when people wanted to talk to you about it?
It affirmed that I'd made the right choice in talking about it.
Okay.
Because I had always assumed my purpose was being a rock star, being up on stage, playing music, entertaining. And then the personal stuff hit me, and that really resonated with those who listen to the band and have heard my story. And then I realized, oh, this is bigger. This purpose is bigger than just mean mugging and, giving the old Johnny Cash on stage. It reaffirmed for me that I had made the right decision because it was inspiring other people, dropping pebbles of positivity into the lake and watching just where those ripples go. I put the pebble in the lake, ripples go out. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what positive effects it's going to have. But to have other people coming out saying, hey, I've got a family member going through this. You've inspired them. Just in simply doing what I do and making sure that I'm taking care of myself and being, moderately vocal about it, just as a public service and being of service to other people. Again, I'm in a unique position to be able to inspire, or I could also be in a position to be incredibly ridiculed.
Sure.
Yeah. Dude, I get either way. And it's what you put out that
I get
back.
that.
And that's positive energy, negative energy, whatever your energy you're putting out, that's coming back. So I always try to be positive in every instance.
Once a year, I'll make a post when I get another year of recovery and say, hey, I've been sober 12 years today, 13 years today, blah, blah, blah. And that post is usually the most popular post of the year. And I get a lot of private communications from people like, hey, my mom's an addict, my kid is an addict, or, my husband's an alcoholic, or I'm in trouble. What should I do? And it's always like, where are you at? Here, I'll send you a link. Here's some right in your neighborhood. Here you go. And, but the first time I ever talked about it publicly, I just did it for the comic effect of it, because I had just gone to a rehab, and you know about the gay rehab I ended up in, right?
Not personally, no, but through your stories, yes.
So it's a long story, but I unintentionally checked myself into a gay rehab. I didn't know it was a rehab for homosexuals. Turned out to be one of the best places I've ever been, but it was a drug and alcohol place that was gay and lesbian.
Hold on, I got to interrupt. Wouldn't any rehab that you go to be one for homosexuals, Craig? Sorry,
it was one of the
low hanging fruit.
It was truly one of the best places I've ever been, man. I mean, when you're
Club Med for you,
yeah, when you're in that, when you're really holding yourself accountable for the first time and being honest with people, you're just incredibly fragile. And I was around the most sensitive people I'd ever met in my life.
What are you saying, man?
It was a great place.
Yeah. Why they gotta be sensitive? What do you mean? What do you mean?
So the first time I ever mentioned it publicly is on the Howard Stern show. I told this funny story about how I needed help, and I had insurance for the first time, and they said, okay, where are you at? And I said, I was staying in this neighborhood. I was dating a girl who lived in a gay neighborhood in Seattle, Capitol Hill. It's a very big gay neighborhood over there. And they said, oh, there's a rehab right down the street from you. And then I called that rehab, and the guy was, asked me all these intake questions and said, all right, well, I think we're ready. One more question. You are a homosexual. And I was like, I'm a what?
I'm so glad you didn't go with the voice on that one.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was like, no.
And he's like, well, we are a gay rehab. And I said, oh, and he goes, yeah, because your insurance didn't tell you. And I said, no. And he said, well, we're not gay and lesbian exclusive, but we're gay and lesbian friendly. So are you a homosexual? And I said, no. Do you have a problem with homosexuals? No. And he said, all right, we'll see you on Monday. And I checked into gay rehab. Told the story on the air. It's a funny story about how I ended up in gay rehab.
Haven't had gay sex since either. Fuck, I stumbled over that. Hold on, cut.
Don't you hate it when you...
Hold on, I gotta get this in.
Go ahead.
Haven't had gay sex since.
Well, how about I'll set it up and and then I ended up...
We're keeping all this now.
That's how I ended up in gay rehab.
And it worked because you haven't had gay sex since.
God damn it, Chris.
But
So I told the story on the Howard Stern show, and immediately my inbox was like, what did you go to rehab for? I'm a heroin addict. And I was like, oh, and then it was weird because I realized I just wanted to tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared to have like, well, now I'm okay with it now,
Right.
but it threw me because I was like, hey, here's a funny story. And it was a serious story with a funny ending to it.
Right.
But
speaking of heroin, a heroin addict in rehab is the reason that I think I quit doing drugs too soon.
Really?
Yeah.
A heroin addict made it look attractive?
Well, not necessarily. I asked this kid, young, pretty kid on heroin, was there just to avoid going to jail, didn't give a damn. Like it was just getting out of his senses as far as I could tell. But young, pretty dude, real, he was engaging. I love talking to this kid. And early on in rehab, in recovery, and I never had the chance to do heroin. So I was curious. I wanted to ask this kid. I was like, hey, man.
And he gave you such a great sales pitch.
Oh, yeah. He goes, I go, hey, man, at your low point, like what was the low point on heroin for you? And he took a moment and then he looks back up at me.
Oh, no.
He took a moment, collects his thoughts, and then looks up at me and goes, you know that vein in the top of your dick? Yeah, I quit doing drugs way too soon. I had a lot further to go.
Wow. God damn. That is one thing about recovery is that you might feel embarrassed or shame for your behavior, but you'll always hear stuff that you'll be like,
oh, yeah.
Whoa.
So, and that was the thing too. Like he asked me, you know that vein in the top of your dick? I'm like, yeah, I know about the vein on my dick, but how do you know? Which rehab are we at? Where are we up in Capitol Hill?
Are you at Craig's Rehab? They renamed it the Craig Gass Gay Rehab.
It didn't work for me.
Yeah. Dude, you're going to be down for a while. Oh, wait, before we go, I want to tell you one more story about, did you see the story about, was there another thing you wanted to bring up?
I wanted to talk about, we touched on Ghost a little bit about the cell phone policy.
So, yeah, because Chrissy Hynde also put out a thing about cell phones.
Yep.
And, but by the way, do you mind if I just read her cell phone thing?
Yeah.
So I read you the thing that Chrissy Hynde did about,
get out of the front row.
Get out of the front row.
Let's keep it moving, people.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
And then now, she put out another thing that said, nope, that's the please get out of the front row thing. And here is, she posted a thing about cell phones.
This is behind the scenes footage here on how podcasts work with the Beardo and the Weirdo.
And the thing about cell phones is, hey, everyone. I love that she starts out like, hey, like all upbeat before she's like, you guys are pieces of shit.
Stop doing what you're doing.
She says, Chrissy Hynde posted recently, we are almost at the end of this tour, which has been going since May. It's starting to feel like the night of the living dead on stage. But thanks to our stellar audience, we've had great shows in great theaters, in great cities. As always, I find myself apologizing for asking people to put their phones away. I realize now it's apparently impossible to explain how distracting the phones are. However, I know I'm not alone. Some performers have all phones sealed in a bag throughout the entire show. I think Dylan does that now. Maybe that's the only way. Well, enough of my yakking, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, she's like, put your phones away. I remember seeing Prince 10 years ago, and he had a woman come out on stage and say, good evening. Welcome to an evening with Prince. Everyone's like, yeah. And she's like, the show is about to start in a few moments. But before we do, Prince wants to let you know that he wants you to experience the show with your eyes and your ears. So please keep your phones away. And everyone's like, yeah.
And then you have me in the back. Shut up, old woman.
Yeah. Then lights go
outdated.
Lights go out. Prince walks out. Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Prince is jamming and he goes, put your phones away. Put your phones away. And I remember he goes, put your phones away. He goes, nobody cares that you're here. Put your phones away. You're in the funkiest place on earth. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the funkiest place on earth.
And Prince said that the most sexy way possible because that man just dripped with it the whole time. Even in reprimanding you. Like, ooh, I'm putting my phone away.
I'll never forget the most appropriate headline I've ever read in my life was the Onion headline when Prince died. Did you remember what that headline was?
I do not recall.
The Onion put out a headline that said, "Nation too sad to fuck because Prince has died." That is the most appropriate headline I've ever read in my life.
Absolutely. Now, with the cell phones, I understand why some artists do it. I understand why some artists do it.
There's a lot of backlash from Ghost making that statement.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Going on tour, put your phones away.
From people who probably ain't going to the show in the first damn place. So stay in the comments section and shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
If you're not going, like people complaining about, what was it? Power Trip? Was that the name of that big festival out in
India?
Yeah. But, it's so expensive. You weren't going in the first place.
Yeah.
Hush.
Yeah.
You're complaining about something that you wouldn't have done in the first damn place. Just hush. But for example, like comedians, I 100% understand, as a comedian myself now, why comedians would, what are those bags called? Yonder.
Yeah.
Why they would use the bags to lock up your phones, because you're building a special, essentially. You're working up to have an hour-long special, and if that stuff gets leaked, then it devalues the special because you already know what's coming. You saw the early moments of those jokes that hadn't been completely developed yet.
Right.
And it looks like shit, and that's going to make you be like, no,
right.
I've seen it. I don't care.
So if I go to Netflix and go, hey, I want to do this thing, and this is what the material is going to be, it's like, well, it's already on. Yeah, it's already online.
You mean that one we've already seen?
Yeah, we've already seen it.
For free?
So,
yeah. And then bands like Tool will have people lock up their phones, but they also will play stuff that's brand new that you haven't heard before. As an artist, I understand. We never play anything that hasn't already been released. The recordings haven't already been released, professional or studio recordings, because we don't want people to have the first experience of hearing that song through a cell phone speaker.
On YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So so I understand that. So that makes that special for them. They're able to really give the fans a unique experience because they know it's not going to be put out on the internet, and those tracks get leaked, hearing that sort of thing. So I understand that. As a member of a band that has grown up in social media, in the cell phone age, when everyone has a camera, I am 100% appreciative of, I'm putting on a show. I do it for the photographers in the front row. The same reason. I play to the photographers the first 2 or 3 songs when they're out there, because I know that they're going to be taking pictures, and then people at home that aren't able to go to the show will be able to see the concert, get excited about it, kind of let them experience it at home through the eyes of the photographer.
And it's always the standard for concert photography from professional photographers is usually first 2 or 3 songs.
Exactly.
And that's before you get really sweaty and look really ugly. So
exactly,
I get that.
Yeah, before my mascara starts running, because,
this is the first time I heard that Tool does that. I thought only comedians did the Yonder bags.
Yeah, Tool will do it. I don't know about all the time, but I definitely know that when I saw them in Portland, we had the phones locked up, and then they played like new stuff, and I was like, oh, that's why they're doing it.
Wow.
But I am all for cell phones. However, you like, going back to Chrissy Hynde telling people, if you've been to the show before, move, let other people who haven't been up front. No, that's your experience. Experience it however you want to. I'm guilty of, if I'm going to see a band and I know a friend of mine loves a particular song, I'm getting the chorus so that I can send that to them and they can experience that at home. So I do the same thing. I don't get the people that bring the huge iPads and blocking everybody behind them.
Do you see that a lot?
Oh, not a lot, but I have seen it before.
Wow.
That's insensitive. Like, yeah.
I know I've seen that at least once or twice. That is insane to me.
Oh, yeah.
Bring like a blocky pad with you to record stuff.
Or even dumber, you're at the show.
Blocky pad, by the way, is what I used to call my ex.
But like, if you're filming, why are you filming the film of the band on the big screen?
Right.
There.
Right.
Film actual. Yeah, that's one of the things I don't get. But like, I'm all for it. Experience it however you want to experience. You've paid the money. You get to, as long as you're not hurting anybody else in there, you can do whatever you want in regards to your own personal experience. And it benefits us as well, because everyone wants to go viral. What better way than having 20,000 people at a show, taking pictures, taking video, sharing it to their friends. They're doing the work for you.
You just
can't buy that
argued
type of stuff.
You just argued both sides of that argument.
Chris Kael, 2028.
That's Beardo for you.
Yeah.
I'm Weirdo. I think it's official. Beardo and Weirdo. Moving forward, we're going to do this.
I like it.
Go see Chris Kael. Social media, Chris Kael.
Across the board. Usually it's 5FDP Chris Kael on Instagram, Twitter, official Chris Kael on Facebook. But I run all those accounts. I haven't gotten to I'm not even going to take a stab at somebody we already talked about.
Go ahead.
I haven't gotten to the level where I have other people doing my social media stuff for me. And I enjoy it too. Like I said, we are one of the first bands that grew up in the eye of social media and sharing and whatnot. And I'm fully, I love it. So I still run all that stuff. So, you can message me at any of those, and I don't respond to all of them, but I definitely read everything. So don't get mad if I don't respond. That's another thing. Chris is pissed. People who get upset when they see that you read the message, but you haven't responded.
Right.
Like, if I responded to every single message that's in my inbox, I wouldn't be able to do the thing in the first place that made you message me. I wouldn't have time to be writing music to go out and play shows. I need to hire a 15-year-old boy to, here's $200, answer all these for. Oh, actually, we have AI now. Maybe there we
Good
go.
point.
There we go. So unless you want me to go to AI, quit asking dumb shit.
All right, go see Chris Kael on all his social media. 5FTP Chris Kael. Is that what it is on
Mostly.
everything?
Yeah, just look up Chris Kael and it usually comes up.
I will be, depending on when you see this, I'm either in New Zealand or Australia. I could already be in Flint, Michigan or Boise at this point. I'm doing the Egyptian Theater in Boise. Actually, there's going to be a few theater shows. A lot of stuff coming up. Getgas.com. Getgas with 2 S's.com. I'm the Weirdo. That's the Beardo. And we'll see you next time.